acquisition of signal in Ascension Island, which is in the middle of the Atlantic during that film. Before, we were using all of our power to get away from the Earth, and now we're using it to pick up speed so that we can climb later in the flight. And if you take a look at the trajectory on the top left-hand side of the screen there, you can see that we're dipping slightly now in altitude, a little bit like a roller coaster, Thomas. Why is that?
Actually, we decrease our altitude a little, and then we can use all our thrusts to increase our speed. And this helps to push us towards our final destination, which is 640 kilometers above the Earth's surface. And at that point, we'll be traveling at 9.4 kilometers per second.
Intelsat and Ariane Space are old friends. Their relationship goes back many years.
Glad to be here for yet another launch of an Intelsat satellite built by Space Systems Loral and launched on an Ariane launch vehicle. Now, when those three companies get together, all three leaders in their respective field, that's really a cause for success. We've shown this 20 times in the past, going as far back as an Intelsat 5 launch on an Ariane 1 launch vehicle in 1983.
Intelsat 17 is the latest example of the 1300 bus from Loral. The 1300 bus, we focus on high power. It's the highest power spacecraft in the industry. In this case, we have 25 Ku band and 24 C band channels, and it'll be up there providing service for at least 15 years.
The Intelsat 17 is going to be located at 66 degrees east longitude, right adjacent to our video neighborhood at 68.5. It will be replacing 702, which was launched in 1994, and it was also built by Loral. So this is a continuation of great spacecraft. This is our 45th spacecraft from Space Systems Loral that will be launching, and this will be our 51st launch from Ariane Space. The spacecraft is going to support video services and network services. It is covering all the way from Asia, Africa, Middle East, Russia, and Europe. IS-17 is one of 5 spacecraft enhancement programs for Asia-Pacific region. It will replace some of the old spacecraft as well as bring in new, much-needed capacity.
Under the leadership of Dom Domadoran and Peter Palin, Space Systems Loral has been able to deliver an Intelsat 17 2 months ahead of schedule.
We put together Tiger teams at the beginning of the program to plan out every step of the way, and we worked together to make sure that we understood what Intelsat wanted, Intelsat understood what our constraints were, and that spirit of teamwork and planning just continued throughout the program.
We are very happy with Loral spacecraft, and over 50% of our fleet is from Loral today.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the personnel at Space Systems Loral, Ariane Space, and Intelsat for the hard work that they put in that project.
Now the real work begins when Intelsat and SSL move the satellite to its final position. So I have one message for the team doing that. Go Intelsat 17.
So let's turn our attention now to HYLAS 1, and as a Brit, I'm proud to say that these are very important times for space in the UK. We have a new space agency, the UK Space Agency. We have a new European Space Agency facility.
And today, actually, a new year is starting for this young satellite operator, Avanti Communication. HYLAS 1 is the first satellite of their fleet.
And of course, we all want the very best for our firstborn, and Ariane Space is delighted to be transporting this precious satellite.
The launch of HYLAS 1, Avanti's first satellite, is a major achievement and a major milestone for the company. This is the culmination of a great deal of hard work from those in Avanti, the European Space Agency, and all of our contractors.
So, when it's the first spacecraft of the fleet, it's only natural to choose a launch vehicle with proven reliability. Ariane 5 has a flight record of 39 successful launches in a row.
The reliability of the Arianespace launch vehicles family is an asset for new operators, which need to secure their business plan by having their first spacecraft as early as possible and safely into orbit.
Dependability is even more important when you are launching pioneering technology like HYLAS-1, offering unparalleled new services for people in Europe.
The advanced General Flexible Payload Equipment, procured in partnership with the European Space Agency and developed by Astrium, gives Avanti the ability to independently adjust our uplink frequency, our downlink frequency, our bandwidth and our power. This affords us the ability to provide capacity to areas of high market demand and serve the needs of our customers like no other operator can.
HYLAS-1 is the result of a team effort involving a range of players.
This program was very exciting to work since it was indeed very international.
Ariane and the teams they lead have conducted themselves professionally and efficiently during the build-up to and the execution of this launch campaign. We look forward to coming back to the launch of HYLAS-2, our second satellite, here in Kourou.
And we saw during that film that the ground station in Libreville in Gabon has now picked up the launcher. So we're approaching the west coast of Africa, and it's remarkable to think that we've crossed the Atlantic in just 20 minutes. 6 hours on a transatlantic jet, Thomas?
Yep. Actually, it's thanks to the principle of suborbital flight. You know, it's a great combination of speed and altitude. Soon we'll be able to do London to Sydney in, 3 hours, 4 hours?
Well, maybe. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? HYLAS-1 is truly cutting edge and pioneering technology.
There are over 100 million households and SMEs across Europe and North Africa that can't get broadband.
Satellite is the ideal solution.
The global markets for broadband are enormous.
Avanti has been based in Hackney, Hoxton Square area for the last 10 years, and it's been a real benefit for attracting young, bright people to this area.
7 years ago, the market capitalised 30 million, and today it's just over 550 million. The growth of the company has been almost stratospheric.
The HYLAS-1 project was created as a result of a very simple calculation of supply and demand. There was, in our view, 10 years ago, very high unmet potential demand for the services of a Ka-band satellite. At that point, very few people shared our view, but that view now seems to be universal.
HYLAS-1 will be the first Ka-band satellite providing rural broadband services across Europe.
Many parts of which simply cannot get at an economic rate terrestrial broadband. The principles of satellite broadband are very simple. A satellite dish from your home or your small business talks back up to the satellite, which then goes down to a ground station which connects to the internet. So very straightforward and allows you to get a signal, get internet pretty much anywhere you like.
When we began our HYLAS-1 project, there was very little investment appetite for a project that involved the creation of brand new technology. So the involvement of the European Space Agency was fundamental to de-risk that technology. But it's also important to remember that without the access to space, which is offered by the ECA Ariane program, success wouldn't be assured. So in de-risking our technology development and getting us into space, ECA's involvement has been of high importance.
We'll be able to help hundreds of thousands with our first satellite, and number 2 satellite is already in construction, and we'll be able to help a lot more with those. Ka-band is incredibly well suited to satellite broadband because it allows much higher data throughputs across that piece of the spectrum. We've signed up quite a lot of partners to resell services from HYLAS-1. I think at the last count it was over 60. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the market for these KA services.
I believe that Avanti really are the front runners in terms of that delivery of Ka-band.
It's today that the game really begins. My motivation is all about building a long-term, profitable cash flow stream which can make Avanti a permanent part of the global telecoms market and also the London Stock Exchange.
The future of Avanti is really about buying more, flying more, filling more. I think Avanti will be flying a fleet of satellites in 5 years' time.
I believe that Avanti can become an important part of British corporate life, and it's my ambition over the next 5 to 10 years to turn Avanti Communications into a company that everyone that's had a role in building this business can truly be proud of.
So, 24 minutes into the flight, the tracking station in Melinda.
Currently flying over Africa towards the east coast, you know, approaching Indian Ocean. Probably our friends in Bangalore at ISRO could see the Ariane 5 upper stage coming up west from the horizon right now.
What a beautiful image. Well, maybe they'd have to have a decent telescope or at least a good camera lens.
And clear sky.
And a clear sky. If you take a look here at the left-hand side of the screen, that trajectory, we're climbing high. What's our speed and altitude, Thomas?
Actually, we are traveling 630 kilometers above Earth's surface at incredible speed on 9.36 kilometers per second.
Arrêt du moteur HM7B sur commande de guidage.
So we are now approaching our required velocity. We have extinction of the upper stage engine. The onboard computer has sent the command to switch off the engine because the launcher has now reached its correct position. And we've reached what we call the ballistic phase of the flight. Ballistic means no propulsion, so we've switched off the engine and we're travelling under our own steam. What does this actually mean, Thomas?
Well, we are on orbit, Katie. That means that we are high enough and fast enough to cruise without engine, without propulsion.
And we're now going through a very carefully planned set of manoeuvres, which we often call the space ballet, because it really is like that. What's actually happening up there, Thomas?
Actually, we are orientated the upper composite, which is the satellite and the upper stage. And actually, once we release the satellite, so Intelsat 17 and HYLAS 1, well, they continue their journey on their own to their final orbit. And to do that, we must put them in the correct position.
Let's find out what happens next to Intelsat 17.
Intelsat's mission team in Washington, D.C. will take control of the satellite after it separates from the launch vehicle. We'll form a series of 4 burns to bring it to its final location at 66 degrees east longitude. Perform a series of tests to prove out the subsystems and the payload, and then we'll turn it over to our customers in January of 2011 for operational service.
Now, the upper stage has a brain. It's called the Vehicle Equipment Bay, and I suppose it's what is like an onboard computer?
Even more than that, Katie, it's a whole management system. Can even make decisions smart and takes into account information coming from, you know, all different subsystems of the launcher, like the tank, the engine, etc. And if there are different options, it always chooses the one which maximizes the success of the mission, which is the priority for everybody tonight.
And of course, the philosophy of Ariane space. So, presumably that's how we know where we're going then. That's how the upper stage knows where it's going.
Yeah, actually the launcher needs to know where it is, where he has to go, and how he gets there. That's what we call in our language the GNC, which stands for Guidance, Navigation and Control. And I would say this is one of the primary subsystems of the launcher.